Hello, I'm Pamela Davis. Welcome to episode 104 of the Well Done Life podcast. Welcome back to episode 104 of the Well Done Life podcast. I'm your host, Pamela Davis. If you are new here, hey, welcome. I am so glad that you're here with us this week. I hope you stay a while. If you've been here before, you guys know the deal. I know this sounds like a broken record, but I'm going to keep saying it because I love you deep, and I really appreciate your support and encouragement. Before we get started with this week's episode, I always like to make sure that I set the foundation. You guys know that we're building a safe space. We're building a house. So I need to make sure that our house is built on two very important things, and that is clarity and love. Clarity, it is very straightforward. I just want you to know that this is a podcast that I created as a space for women to be able to come together, share our stories, learn, and grow from each other. I know you guys hear a lot from me because I hopefully use my experiences as an opportunity for you to see similarities and to also feel comfortable sharing your stories. And then I love having the opportunity to spotlight women as well who are shifting their lives, who are making impacts in the world as resources for you so that we can continue to have this amazing conversation of women constantly pouring into each other and encouraging each other to be our best selves. Because I think that when we encourage each other, that's essentially what the Well Done Life is all about. That's the best parts of life. So I hope now that you understand why you're here, you'll stay. And then that leads me to my favorite thing. My favorite thing is love, because I truly do believe love is the thing. And we are going to do everything in this space in love. And so I like to make sure that every week I send love to each of you through prayers. And so this week I want to make sure that I am sending everyone prayers of empathy. Definitely think a lot of us need more prayers of that. I think also we need prayers of peace, understanding, hope, strength, faith, and worthiness. And we're going to talk more about worthiness because I think we need to all start to really lean into our worth. We kind of talked about last week, or we did talk about in episode 103, what would you do? What do you do when God gives you what you've been praying for? And I wanted to talk about that because, last week, I'm going to be honest, God, and actually it's the last week, maybe like the week before last, but God gave me exactly what I prayed for. And let me tell you, it has really rocked my life, but I'm at such peace with it. But I wasn't at peace with it at first because it really focused me into thinking like, wow, what do you do when God gives you what you prayed for? How do you move? How do you navigate? Because you naturally would think that, you just step into the blessing, but I'm going to be transparent. And I think other people feel the exact same way I do. Sometimes we don't just step into it. Our thoughts, our mind, our fears can project on us things that are not real. And our fears can hold us back to the point where we miss exactly what we prayed for. So I wanted to give you some insights on how you can prepare yourself for what you've been praying for. Because I'm going to be honest, I know we're not all sitting here doing this work, this intention work, not to get the things that we prayed for, not to be our best selves. So you have to be prepared to make sure that you are in the right mindset mentally, and then right physical space to be able to receive and accept the blessings when they come, because this work is not in vain. It's going to come. So that's where I was. And I definitely recall telling you guys I was up out of my sleep, not because I was, mad or upset. It was just because my mind was racing like, wow, this is what I prayed for. This is what I've been working for. It's come to pass. And I'm sitting here now going through all of these things, and life is being life and coming at me. And I've got to step into it. I know I have to step into it, but I also have to speak over myself and speak to my fears or my false evidence appearing real and calm it down so that I could be ready to step into the blessing. So if you are challenged with that, I will definitely make sure I link that episode in the show notes. And I want to thank the people that reached out to me about it, because it made me feel good to know that I am not alone. Because it's just like, we are all trained to think about, being prepared for the blessing, giving gratitude for the blessing, walking into it. But a lot of times when we are being so intentional, I notice that we don't talk about, making sure that we are doing the work while we are praying and being intentional, setting the vision and working for it, to make sure that mentally and physically we're aligned with it, so that when the blessing comes and the other fears and the doubts start to kick in, you can just block those out and keep moving forward. So I hope that episode will give you some insights on what you can do to help make sure that you are in line for your blessing and ready to step into it. But like I said, for me, I still had to check myself. I still had to get clear, because I'm going to be quite honest. I kind of blew up my life a little bit these past couple of weeks, and I'm really happy about it. Yep. I did. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I don't really think that there's another way to describe it, but I did. And I'm really glad that I did it. But it really has also highlighted for me a need to focus on my worth even stronger. And a need to talk about, making sure that we all understand that we are worthy. So when I say that, I like to be foundational, because, for you guys who've been listening before, you guys know I love a good dictionary, and I like to make sure that I set it off right. And I wanted to make sure that I gave you, clear understanding of what I mean by worth. Because yes, we know that, you want to believe in yourself and have good self-esteem and strength, but we also have to understand that we are worthy, that we are deserving of these great things that we are setting the vision plain for, that we are praying for, that we're being intentional about. We deserve them. But a lot of times we don't talk about the worth behind it, because, we just get so focused on achieving the goal. And you have to make sure that you talk about the worth and that you're aligned with that, so that when the goal comes to pass, because your work is not in vain, we don't do that here, you're ready to step forward. And, for me, blowing up my life and stepping into this new season really started for me at the end of last year, because I totally took a different approach to my intentions and my plans going into 2022. I think I've mentioned it before in another episode. My way of goal setting was talking about the things that I'm leaving behind in 2021. And I have an episode about it, and I'll link it in the show notes, because it's never too late to think about things that you're going to leave behind. It may not be it could be things that you're going to leave actually in 2021, because, hey, still not too late. It could be things that you've discovered about yourself in just this quarter of time. I mean, we are going in, this is April now, so you're going into Q2. It could be about things that you're going to leave in Q1 of 2022. But for me, it was about things that I was leaving in 2021. And one of the things that I was leaving in 2021 was sitting in mediocrity. And when I say sitting in mediocrity, I'm talking about the fact that for the past 10 years, because I've been a caregiver since 2010, a little bit before then, but for the past 10 years in particular, actually a little more, I have been sitting in mediocrity. And when I say that I have been sitting in mediocrity, I have been suppressing myself from working as hard as I could toward my goals. And that's just being 100% honest. It doesn't mean that I wasn't accomplishing great things during this season, because I was. God has been faithful. I have been blessed. I have done quite a bit. But at the same time, I could have done more. And I have to be honest about that. I had to be, because, I sat and looked at where I am in my life going into 2022, especially knowing that I was going to be turning 49 this year. And I made the decision that if I didn't make a move in changing my life for the way that I deserve now, when was I going to do it? Because if not now, when? Am I going to do it another 5 years from now? Am I going to do it another 10 years from now? When I'm 59, am I going to be trying to figure out my worth and the goals that I aspire for? Or am I going to do this now? And like I said, I had been sitting in mediocrity. I was comfortable with the status quo because I understood the status quo. I knew the devils that I was dealing with, and I could run circles around it in my sleep and feel comfortable, even with the challenges of life coming. I could feel good and just navigate through. And before we really dive into it too far, I'm going to say there is nothing wrong with sitting in mediocrity, if that's where you are, because I think everybody has a season in it. And like I said, I had a season. I had a 10 plus year season. And if I think about it, I needed that 10 plus year season because I was in the process of becoming a stronger person. I was in the process of grieving. I was in the process of learning how to be a good caregiver, a good daughter, a better daughter, a great sister. I had to grow as a person. So if I think about it, in that season of mediocrity where I was not pushing myself as hard as I could have been pushing myself to the next level for my goals in my professional life or even personally, I had to sit there. So because that was where I was supposed to be. And I think one thing to remember as we are talking about this season of mediocrity is that we all have to give ourselves grace in those moments where we have to sit in mediocrity. Because a lot of times life will have us feeling like we have to make choices to put our dreams on the shelf in order to survive. I was focused on being the head of my home and making sure that I kept the home over our head and doing all the things that I needed to do and trying to overcome the mistakes that I had made, all of those things. There's so much that happened in that time period that I had to get right. So I had to sit in mediocrity. And for those people who are sitting in mediocrity right now, I hope that what I'm telling you will inspire you to see that when you are ready to move to the next level, there is space for you to do that. And let me say that again. For those people who are sitting in mediocrity, and only you know if you are sitting in mediocrity, because to the world, it can look shiny and new. It can look like you are the bomb.com, but within your heart center, if there are things that you are suppressing and putting on the shelf for reasons that you must sacrifice during this time where you're not ready because you have some growing and healing to do and you just need to be comfortable. When you are at that space in yourself where you are ready to move past this level of mediocrity, it will all fall into place when you are ready. And like I said, for me, I wasn't ready for 10 plus years, but at the end of 2021, I became ready. And so I started to align myself to do the work. And by doing the work, I got very clear specifically about what I wanted to accomplish. I wrote it down. I was intentionally speaking about it to myself and working on my goals every day. And I am very happy to say that an opportunity presented itself to me, and I have given my notice on my job, and I'm leaving my current position that I've been in for 14 years for something new. And I'm really excited. And I had prayed for a new opportunity I had. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I hate my job or the people that I work with. That's definitely not it. I've learned a lot at the time and for the time that I've been there. But I knew that I needed more. I knew that I deserved more. And I had just come to a point where there was only so much pushing and asking that I was going to be able to do, and it produced fruit. So it was time for me to make a decision, and I made a decision to leave. And so I opened myself up to it, and it came. And it was funny because the opportunity that I wound up taking wasn't even one that I was looking for. They came to me. So it was just the perfect alignment. And to say that it's been easy would be an understatement. It's not, because I've been in this position for 14 years. And I've seen the highs and the lows of it. So I'm very comfortable with where I am. And it wasn't like I wasn't doing well, but it just wasn't enough. And when it became not just enough, that is where I had to tap into my worthiness. And, I don't think we talk enough about worthiness. And especially as it relates to when we are moving through new seasons and trying to move through different phases of our lives. So that's why I wanted to talk about worthiness today. Because, when we think about worthiness, we always think about, being good enough. That is really the definition of it. The definition of to be worthiness is a quality of being suitable or having some kind of value. You can demonstrate your worthiness as a pet sitter by showing up on time and taking good care of your neighbor's cats is an example of worthiness. I mean, there's just so many different things. And, worthiness is obviously an extension of worth. And when we talk about our worth, we are always, I think nowadays, sometimes we equate our worth to the material things. And those are just different aspects of it. But when I'm talking about worthiness, tapping into my worthiness, I had to tap into the fact that I am worth taking a chance on. I am worth saying that I deserve more than just being comfortable in a position. I deserve an opportunity to grow. I deserve an opportunity to be challenged. I deserve an opportunity to make more money. I mean, all of those things tie into my worthiness. And for me, in that season of mediocrity, I knew that I was living below my worthiness, but I was cool with it because I didn't feel worthy. I was still carrying, the grief and the fears and the frustrations and the heartaches of the mistakes that I had made that had put me in these positions. Because yes, there have been some mistakes that I had made, and everybody makes mistakes. But a lot of times we don't move past the mistake enough, and we don't forgive ourselves for it. So it affects the way that we value ourselves, the way that we look at our worth. And that ultimately will allow us to stay in situations where we are comfortable just getting enough versus realizing that we deserve 5 times that. But we just don't want to give ourselves the space to see it and understand that. And that's where I was. But a part of, like I said, making that decision to leave mediocrity in 2021 was also a part of me making the decision to heal and forgive myself for the things that didn't go well. And making a commitment to myself to constantly speak over myself in a positive way, even when I didn't feel like it. To just give myself the room to heal. And if I hadn't done that, I don't think I would have made the decision that I made to leave my job in 14 years. And let me tell you, like I said, it definitely hasn't been easy. Outside of obviously just the fears of coming up, of, have you made the right decision? And are you sure about this? Like, life was lifing at the same time. And like I'd mentioned, I had a health challenge come up. So I'm sitting here thinking, Lord, please do not let this be something traumatic. I was starting to work myself up. Like, what if I need surgery? I'm sitting here changing jobs, and my new job is not unfortunately, it's not like benefits are day one. I got to wait a little bit. So, oh Lord, here I am putting myself at risk. And I'm saying all these things, and I don't know to first what's going on. Is just, unfortunately, I had gotten a bad report and I needed additional testing, and I had just started to work myself up. I broke down. And because I had dealt with this challenge before many, many years ago, and I was just like, this cannot be coming back. You've got to be kidding me. I know. And I literally had to stop myself and say, God is never going to put me back in that situation. And so I just need to calm down. And I had to get it out because I was triggered. It was the fear and the reaction. That's where the tears came in. But I had to pull myself together real quick. No. You are equipped to face anything that will come your way. But this is not going to turn out to be anything that is going to stop you from getting your blessing. And I'm very glad to say, today I went and got my follow-up test done, and everything was cool. But y'all, I had follow-up testing scheduled. I think, it was last week I was supposed to go for it. And on my way to the test, there was a horrible accident on the highway. And I literally was stuck on the highway for an hour and a half. I missed my appointment because obviously I was stuck on the highway. And through the grace of God, I was able to call and get a schedule for the following week. But it was just okay, that's spooky. It was making me afraid, oh my God, really, holy crap, this is going to come up. And Lord, I know I'm not going to have issue. It's just, again, all of these false things coming up to make me feel am I making the wrong decision? It was all of those things, trying to question my worth, trying to question my decision making. And I had to stay on top of myself to make sure that I talk myself through this. No, it's never going to be through. This is not going to come back to you. This isn't what it's supposed to be. And I will say one thing: when you are in this season where you are trying to determine your worthiness and trying to step out from being in a mediocre place, you definitely have to have your prayer life strong. You do. You need to make sure you have connection to the source, whatever that looks like for you, because that's the only thing that helped me. Because I was going through that. Child, I had a plumbing issue through my home one night that I caused myself. Weird little things were popping up. It was crazy. And this has all happened in the matter of 2 weeks, y'all. But I can tell you, it all resolved itself. I still have a few little things going on here and there, like some car stuff and whatever, but it's resolving itself because I've made the decision that I'm worth this move, and that God and the ancestors would not give me anything that I am not prepared for. And it's I know that I'm blowing up my life and changing the course of it, but I am at such peace with this that I know that I'm doing the right thing because I know I'm worth it. And I know we're not really diving as deep into worthiness as you can, but worth, I don't really think it needs to be overcomplicated. It really just needs to be talked about in the sense of you have to tap into your worth. You have to realize that sitting your dreams on the shelf is only allowing your dreams to collect dust and your level of comfortability to increase. And if you're okay with that, okay. Because like I said earlier, when you are not comfortable, you will make a move. And so, like for me, I got uncomfortable being comfortable in mediocrity. So I made a move. And that move was something that I thought of last year, and I have been able to execute through this time. And I still will have other moves that I'm executing. I still have other centers and areas that I want to grow in, and particularly this podcast. Like, I'm challenging myself more to stay consistent. I'm challenging myself more to do video and to do different things to grow and to expand the community. Those were part of my dreams. And realizing that I add value, that I'm worth taking these chances on. So again, it all ties back to my worth. And for you, you have to make that decision for your worth. You have to make the decision to realize that you're worth it. And for me, making the decision that I was worth it was sitting down and evaluating where I am at this time in my life. When I looked at the things that I was leaving in 2021, I wrote a list. I had to make those things very clear as to what I was leaving behind. And I carry that list with me. I have that list on my cell phone. I have that list on my computer so that I have to see it often and keep it top of mind that these are the things that I am leaving behind because I'm worth it. And so knowing that I am worth it, I had to make the commitment to myself to do the work to make sure that I left those things behind. Because, like I said, I have been comfortable in mediocrity for the past 14 years. Plus, it's going to take me some time to break those old habits. I'm essentially like 90 days in. So 90 days in, it's a habit. But that does not mean that the habit is unbreakable. So that means that I constantly have to stay over myself. I constantly have to stay on top of myself. I've got to speak to myself. I have to pray over myself. I have to make sure that I refer back to what I'm leaving behind. Keep that thing top of mind. That's what you have to do. And because making the decision to move, it was like when I finally got to that point where I realized that I was uncomfortable in mediocrity, it was very easy to make that decision. It was. I remember my breaking point. I do. I remember being really pissed off one day and picking up my sister and driving her home, yelling and screaming and crying and praying that I need to make a change because I had reached my breaking point. And it wasn't, like I said, I love my position that I'm leaving. I love the company that I work for, but I had gotten to a breaking point. And unfortunately, a scenario had happened, and it made me realize this is not where I'm happy, where I'm fulfilled. And I need to make a decision on how I want to move forward. And I know that this was one moment, but it was a series of things that had kind of built up in me, as well as a desire for more. So I knew that combining all of that together, it was time. And I knew I wanted to tap back into my curiosity. I knew that I wanted to tap back into my love of knowledge and growth. And so I was ready for some new things. I was just in that season where I was uncomfortable being comfortable. And because I had only gotten so far, and I was like, no, I need to move further. I know that this is my time. So I sat down and got very clear. And I got very quiet. And when I say got quiet during this season, I really didn't talk too much to other people about it. I really didn't. Like, I talked to you guys about it because I want to make sure I'm sharing my journey as I'm going through, because I know I'm not the only person out here trying to grow and elevate in their lives. But I got quiet. I feel like sometimes when you're in that season of preparing to move out of mediocrity and move to your next level, you have to get super quiet. We always talk about not everybody can be in the birthing chamber when you're trying to birth your next level. Not everybody can be in the room when you're trying to move yourself to your next level. Not everybody can be in the space when when you're trying to sit down and articulate what you need to leave behind, some things that you just have to do by yourself. And this was a season where I needed to do it by myself. So I did. I got quiet. I journaled. I typed. I did whatever I needed to do to visualize it for me, so that I could come up with the things that I was going to leave behind and how I was going to execute this leaving behind, so that I could move to my next level. And those are some things that you're going to need to do. You can try it every way to Sunday to get it done, but I can clearly tell you, it's all going to start with you making the decision that you are ready for your next level, and then sitting there and deciding what you're going to let go of, so that you can free up your space and energy to move to this level, and then laying out the plan and holding yourself accountable to it daily, so that you can move forward through it. And all the while, life is going to life, because life is going to life, because that's just what it does. But at the same time, remember, when you are trying to move to your next level, when you are trying to do different things, that you're open. So when you're open, that's where things can start to come in to distract you. And you have to be prepared for the distractions. You've got to be able to have the blinders on to that. And if the one just happens to slip through, you got to be prepared to be able to speak to it. You have to be able to prepare to speak to yourself, to know that I'm still going to keep pushing through, that you're still going to do what you set your mind on, because that's what you are supposed to do, because you know that this is your time. You can't let anything distract you from your time. You can't let anyone distract you from your time. You have to be so relentless about your desire to move to the next level, because you know that this is your season, that you just are like, you've got like a bubble around you of protection, because you are prepared and focused on that. Believe me, I cannot tell you the amount of sage that I have lit. I cannot tell you the amount of Florida water into manifestation candles. I got my manifestation candle lighting right now. I'm not playing. I keep this energy positive and clear around me, because I'm trying to manifest my new level. You have to be that intentional. You have to be that focused on it, because when you're doing this work, it is challenging. It's challenging because of life throwing darts at you, but it's challenging because you are healing places within yourself that will challenge your knowledge of worth, that will challenge your belief in your worthiness. And so you've got to be so intentional to keep those places in check, so that you can move to this next level, because ultimately you're worth it. You are truly worth it. And you have to know that. So like I said, when you're ready to move past your new level, when you've decided that, you know what, you're uncomfortable in mediocrity, just know that you are worth it and that you can do it. But you're going to have to be prepared to speak to it and work for it, because it's going to get challenged no matter what you do. And as I step into this new level, I wish I could tell you that it's going to be great. I have no idea. I haven't started my new position yet. I don't start actually until April the 11th. And I'm still wrapping up my last position. And it's hard. It is, I've been with the colleagues that I work with currently for 14 years. They've seen me through many, many different sides of myself. I've seen lots of comings and going. I mean, there's just so many different connections, and you form a family. It's like a big dysfunctional family, as I like to say, at work. And so letting go is challenging. But I will say I'm not afraid because I know that this is the right thing for me. And I was very intentional with myself. Be intentional with yourself if you are taking a step where you're going to do something major. Because I know, people are like, oh, leaving a job is not that big deal. I don't know. I think it is a big deal, especially when you've been there for 14 years. It's a big one. Believe me, that's stability. I have worked hard for that stability. And so now I've made the decision to go to something totally different. I'm confident in what I bring to the table and the knowledge, so I know that it will be okay. And I know that I am equipped to make smart decisions if it's not okay. And that's the other thing. Just know that if you are uncomfortable with mediocrity and you have made the decision that you are worth it and that you want to try to go out here and do something different with whatever aspect of your life that you are focused on, just know that you are equipped to handle it if it doesn't work out. Because your worth is not tied to the fact of whether this works out or not. It's not. Your worth isn't tied to that. Your knowledge isn't tied to that. You made a decision based upon what you felt was right for you at that particular point in time. It's very rare that we know all the details of every scenario. And so sometimes certain things may be a mistake. If it turns out to be a mistake, just know that you'll be okay. And you will act accordingly because you are equipped to be able to handle anything that is thrown at you. And even if you don't believe that statement yet, fake it till you make it and speak it over yourself often until it ingrains itself into you so that you don't lose sight of the fact that you are knowledgeable and worthy of this, even if it turns out to be a mistake. Because mistakes are part of life. We all make mistakes. But that doesn't mean that we have to let the mistake destroy us. We have to just learn how to forgive ourselves, learn from it, and move very quickly. Treat that mistake like a lot of corporations do. I always remember there was a leader that I've encountered in the years with the company that I've been at. And he always said that it's okay if you fail. Just fail quickly, learn from it, and either adapt, change, or move away from it very, very fast. Just don't get stuck there. Because remember, you were already stuck in this level of mediocrity. You don't want to get stuck again and then have that combined with being stuck because you are still grieving the failure. Fail quickly and keep moving. Because it's still your season. And because that's always going to be the hardest part. That's the hard part about knowing that this is your time, about knowing that you are worth this wonderful level. And you still could fail. I totally could fail. But I'll be okay. And I'll act accordingly. But I'm not going into it like with this fear of failure. I'm not even thinking about that. I'm thinking about the fact that I know what I bring to this opportunity. And I am going to do what I normally do, which is work very hard, learn, and be very focused and do my best. And be open. Knowing that I bring all this in. Be my most open self. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I'll be okay. Because I'm still going forward. I still know that this is what I was supposed to do. And I'm still staying curious. I'm still learning. I don't know if I've shared with you guys before. I think I have, though. I'm in the process of getting certified for data analytics with Google. And there's a couple of other courses that I want to take. I love to stay learning, especially, and this is more like on the career side of things. But, if you are even contemplating that, start to take your learning, your training into your own hands. Invest in yourself. My Coursera course, I think it's $39. Yeah, it's $39 a month. That's what I allocate to my learning. And it'd be great if companies paid for it, but sometimes they don't, and I don't really care. This is for me. I'm not doing it to do anything else for anybody else. It's not a requirement of my job. It's for me because, again, I want to stay learning. And it just keeps me sharp and on my toes. So that way, I'll be honest, something doesn't go right, I got options. Always have options, baby. Have options. And stay curious. Don't get so comfortable that you forget to stay learning. The world is shifting and growing all the time. If there's things that spark your curiosity that can help you grow and advance, those are the things that you should be investing your time in as well, so that you can be as well-rounded as you possibly can. And it's not trying to plan or set intentions into the air. Growing, this is about continuing to set the intention in the air that I am a growing, adapting person who is still ready to learn and do amazingly great things. And that I'm taking this position and hopefully continuing to be inspired and growing and learning there. But I am not going to let just one area, one person, one company dictate my growth and learning. And that's an opportunity for all of us to realize, that we should be investing in ourselves and not just relying on corporate structures to help you grow and learn. And that goes with anything in your life. If you decide that you're trying to do a course for yourself just for creativity, stay growing, stay learning, and keep deploying and keep going. You are worth it. You are worthy. You are worthy of all the knowledge, all the things. You just have to believe it, and you have to be willing to execute it. That's really the key. So what are you doing to help inspire you to stay worthy, to stay focused, to tap into yourself, to build past the mediocrity? And those are just, again, rhetorical things to think about as you're going through the journey. But I couldn't think of a better thing for us to start talking about for the month of April, because this month I definitely will be spotlighting some women who are making some transitions in their lives. And a part of that conversation will be, how did they know that they were how did they preserve their worthiness, their worth in all of this? How did they define that? How did they make those decisions as they go forth in their business, and hopefully share some experiences with you that they've gone through? Because we all have had little challenges to our self-worth. It comes up all the time, and we chip away at it, unfortunately, through crazy situations. But those moments of tapping into our worth and realizing what we deserve can lead us to some amazing new levels. So I'm very excited about some of the guests that I'm going to be bringing to you this month. I think actually the first few guests that I have coming up they're all business owners. Next week we'll have our first guest. I'm very excited to have Yvette Weir here on the podcast and talking about her journey, her metamorphosis. And so we will have a good deep dive conversation about it. And I'm very excited about bringing you this conversation this month around worth and showing you other women who are shaking up the game to change their lives and create the lives that they want. Because I'm going to tell you guys, there's no time like the present. It's not going to be easy. It's never going to be. It's never going to be. But if not now, when? That's really what it is. If not now, then when? So hopefully you got some encouragement today. You understand the power of your worth. And feel like, maybe there's some things that you might need to shift in your life. Make the shift. You got this. I'm believing for you. I'm going to have the last few episodes that I mentioned in the show notes. I am so excited about going into the second quarter. I'm believing great things for you all. And don't hesitate to share with me some topics that would help you, that you want me to talk about, to help give you some inspiration or different things that you might need. You can reach out to me at the well done life, at gmail.com, or you have my social information. I'm happy to connect with you, answer any questions, and don't forget to give me a review, share, subscribe. I really want to continue to grow, and very much so I value reviews and your feedback, because that just helps me do better. I promise you can be as constructive as you want to be. This is about growth here. I'm here to serve you, and I get served based upon how you guys are able to respond to my content. So I really would appreciate it. And again, I want to thank you for this week's episode, for your time and attention. I know y'all have tons of other things that you guys could be doing, but you're here with me, so it means the world to me. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the weekend. I look forward to talking to you guys next week. And yes, there will be video with Yvette's call, because for every guest this year, my plan is moving forward that we will have a video available. So look forward to talking to you, seeing you, sharing some time with you. Hope y'all have a great rest of the weekend, and we'll talk again soon. Take care of yourselves and each other. Bye-bye.